The clock ticked past midnight. A lone figure slipped through the shadows of the laboratory. Zira, a petite alien with lavender skin and shimmering silver hair, pressed herself against a wall. Her mission: infiltrate the lab and steal the legendary love potion. She had traveled light years for this. No pressure. Zira crept deeper into the lab. Blinking lights illuminated strange contraptions and bubbling concoctions. The air hummed with a low electrical thrum. She shivered, part excitement, part fear. This was it. Meanwhile, deep in the lab, Ethan, a lanky young scientist with unruly brown hair and thick glasses, hunched over a microscope. He was oblivious to the intruder, too engrossed in his latest experiment. Tonight he was close to a breakthrough. He held a vial of shimmering pink liquid, the love potion. Ethan adjusted his glasses, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Years of research had led to this moment. He carefully placed a single drop of the potion into a petri dish. The effect was instantaneous. Two single-celled organisms, previously indifferent to each other, began to dance. Success! Zira, guided by her intel, finally located the love potion. It sat on a table, unguarded. Too easy? She darted forward, her fingers brushing the cool glass of the vial. Suddenly, a voice shattered the silence. "Who's there?" Zira froze. Busted. Ethan stared, speechless, at the intruder. An alien, in his lab. His mind struggled to process the impossible. She was small, almost fragile, with the biggest, bluest eyes he had ever seen. And her skin, was that lavender? Zira, thinking fast, flung her hands up, knocking over the vial of love potion. The pink liquid flew through the air, misting them both. "Oops!" she squeaked, her voice like wind chimes. Ethan sputtered, wiping his face. What had she done? This was a disaster! The air filled with the sweet scent of the potion. Ethan coughed, waving his hand. It smelled like roses and cotton candy. He looked at Zira, who was staring back at him, her eyes wide and luminous. He felt a strange pull towards her, a warmth he couldn't explain. Section 5. From Fear to Fascination. Zira's heart pounded. She could feel the adrenaline surging through her veins, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. The room seemed to close in around her, the walls pressing in as if they were alive. The love potion. It was all over them. The vibrant, glowing liquid spread across the floor like a living entity, its luminescence casting eerie shadows on the walls. The air was thick with the scent of exotic flowers and something else, something unidentifiable but intoxicating. She watched Ethan, expecting him to attack, to sound the alarm. Her mind raced with possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. Would he call for security? Would he try to restrain her? The uncertainty gnawed at her, making her feel even more vulnerable, but he just stood there, staring at her. His expression was unreadable, a mix of shock and something else she couldn't quite place. Time seemed to stretch, each second an eternity as they stood locked in this strange silent standoff. His brown eyes, usually hidden behind his glasses, were now wide with wonder? Ethan couldn't help himself. He was captivated. The fear that had gripped him moments before was melting away, replaced by a sense of awe and curiosity. This strange, beautiful creature who had fallen from the stars into his lab had his full attention. She was unlike anything he had ever seen, a living enigma wrapped in mystery and allure. Her presence was almost otherworldly, and he found himself drawn to her in a way he couldn't explain. He wanted to know everything about her, who she was, where she came from, what her planet was like. The questions swirled in his mind, each one more pressing than the last. He felt an insatiable need to understand her, to unravel the secrets she held. His fear was gone, replaced by an insatiable curiosity. The lab, once a place of cold clinical detachment, now felt like a gateway to endless possibilities. He realized that this encounter could change everything, opening doors to new worlds and new understandings. And in that moment, he knew he was ready to step through. Section 6. A connection beyond words. Zira, sensing his change in demeanor, relaxed slightly. She couldn't believe it. The potion, it seemed to be working on him. She took a step closer, drawn to the warmth in his eyes. They stared at each other, a silent conversation brewing between them. Ethan, emboldened, reached out a hand. "Hi," he said, his voice a nervous croak. Zira giggled, a sound like tinkling bells. "Hello," she replied, her voice soft and melodic. He didn't understand her words, but the warmth in her voice spoke volumes. Section 7. A Date Under the Stars. In a world where technology and human connection intertwined seamlessly, Ethan and Zira found themselves on an extraordinary journey. Hours flew by like minutes, as if time itself was enchanted by their presence. They talked, or rather, Ethan talked while Zira listened with rapt attention, her eyes sparkling with curiosity and wonder. His voice was a soothing melody, weaving tales of scientific marvels and dreams yet to be realized. He showed her his research, his inventions, his pet project, a miniature teleportation device. She was amazed, her mind racing with the possibilities of such a creation. The device, no larger than a handheld gadget, shimmered with a soft blue light, hinting at the incredible power it held within. As dawn approached, Ethan led Zira to the roof of the lab. The anticipation in the air was palpable, each step up the stairs bringing them closer to a moment that would be etched in their memories forever. They stood in the cool morning air, the city spread out below them like a twinkling tapestry. The first light of dawn painted the horizon with hues of pink and gold, casting a magical glow over the urban landscape. He pointed to the sky, to a distant constellation. His finger traced the patterns of stars, each one a beacon of light in the vast expanse of the universe. "That's Andromeda," he said softly, his voice filled with a mix of awe and reverence. "Where you're from?" The question hung in the air, a bridge between their worlds. She smiled and nodded, her eyes shining brighter than the stars above. In that moment, the distance between their origins seemed to vanish, replaced by a connection that transcended time and space. The stars bore witness to their bond, a silent testament to the magic of their shared night under the cosmos. The reality of their situation settled upon them. He was a scientist, she was an alien. He lived in a world of logic and reason. She came from a world of stardust and dreams. Could this really work? Ethan looked at Zira, her lavender skin glowing in the soft light of dawn. He knew it was crazy, impossible even, but he couldn't deny the feelings she stirred within him. He had to try. "Zira," he began, his voice hesitant, "this might sound crazy, but—" Zira held her breath, her heart pounding against her ribs. She had never felt this way about anyone before. The love potion had worked, but it was more than that. She felt a connection with Ethan, a kinship that transcended their different worlds. Ethan took a deep breath and continued, "I know we just met and well, you're you, and I'm just me. But I can't deny that I feel something for you, something real." He looked at her, his eyes filled with a hope that mirrored her own. Zira's heart soared. He felt it too. She smiled, a radiant, joyous smile that lit up her face. "Ethan," she said, her voice trembling with emotion, "I feel it too. But there's something you need to know." Her words were cut short as a high-pitched whine filled the air. A swirling vortex of light materialized on the rooftop beside them. Zira gasped, her eyes widening in alarm. "Oh no," she whispered, "they've found me." Ethan watched in astonishment as a group of Zira's people, tall slender beings with skin like moonlight, emerged from the portal. Their presence was otherworldly, almost ethereal, as if they had stepped out of a dream. The portal shimmered with an iridescent glow, casting a surreal light on everything around it. Ethan could hardly believe his eyes. It was like witnessing a miracle unfold right before him. They looked at him with a mixture of curiosity and disapproval. Their large, expressive eyes seemed to pierce through his very soul, as if they were trying to understand the essence of his being. Some of them whispered among themselves, their voices a soft hum that filled the air with an almost musical quality. Ethan felt a wave of anxiety wash over him, but he stood his ground, determined to prove himself worthy of their attention. This was it, their moment of truth. The air was thick with tension, and every second felt like an eternity. Ethan knew that this encounter would determine the future of their relationship, and possibly the fate of both their worlds. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him, but he also felt a strange sense of calm, as if he was exactly where he was meant to be. Zira turned to Ethan, her eyes filled with love and determination. Her gaze was unwavering, and in that moment, Ethan saw the depth of her feelings for him. It was a look that spoke of unspoken promises and dreams yet to be realized. He felt a surge of emotion, knowing that she was willing to fight for their love, no matter the cost. "I have to go," she said, her voice trembling, "but I don't want this to end." Her words hung in the air, heavy with emotion. Ethan could see the conflict in her eyes, the struggle between duty and desire. She was torn between her responsibilities to her people and her love for him, and it broke his heart to see her in such pain. "But I don't want this to end," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Tears welled up in her eyes, and Ethan felt a lump form in his throat. He wanted to reach out and comfort her, to tell her that everything would be okay, but he knew that words would be meaningless in the face of such a monumental decision. She took his hand, her touch sending shivers down his spine. It was a simple gesture, but it spoke volumes. In that moment, Ethan felt a connection that transcended words, a bond that was unbreakable. He knew that no matter what happened, they would always have this moment, this memory to hold on to. "Come with me," she whispered, her voice filled with hope and longing. "Explore the universe with me." His heart pounded. The idea was both terrifying and exhilarating. He had always dreamed of adventure, of seeing the stars up close, but this was beyond anything he had ever imagined. It was a chance to start a new life, to be with the woman he loved and to explore the unknown, explore the universe with me. His heart pounded. This was it, his choice. The weight of the decision pressed down on him, but he knew that he couldn't let fear hold him back. He had to be brave, for himself and for Zira. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. This was it, his choice. And he knew exactly what he had to do. He looked into Zira's eyes, seeing the love and hope reflected there, and he knew that he couldn't let her go. He had to take the leap, to embrace the unknown, and to trust in their love. And he knew exactly what he had to do. With a determined look, he squeezed her hand and nodded. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by their love and their shared dream of a future among the stars.